Every time you have changed, you feel pain. You stepped out of one relationship to another and you feel pain. You leave one neighborhood to another and you feel pain. You go from one job to another and you feel the fire of transition. See change as growth. See change as transformation. See change as evolution. See change as necessary. See change as critical. See change as inevitable.
Do something. Stop being f***ing scared if you have not jumped on the bandwagon of doing exactly what the f*** you want to do, which is skiing for the next 3 years or working at a job that's not what your parents want or what society wants. Do something. Stop being f***ing scared. And so enough parents, the kid that's sitting right now at a desk and saw this in a feed and you hate your f***ing job, enough. Stand up, get the f*** out of here and do you. Live your life. You got one life.
And so if you're not willing to be a fool, then you'll never start anything new. And if you never start anything new, then you won't develop. And so the willingness to be a fool is the precursor to transformation. And that's the same as humility. And so if you're going to write your destiny, you can do a bad first job. You're going to get smarter as you move forward.
When you can learn to do things when you don't want to, when you don't feel like it, when you're tired, when you can learn to push yourself to do them, that's when the world opens up to you. That's when success knocks at your door.
There will never come a time when you can just happily coast through life.
It's hard to stay governed by anxiety. It's hard to be inconsistent. It's hard not to have daily disciplines. It's hard not to believe in yourself. It's hard to be broke. It's hard to be poor. It's hard. It's all hard. So choose your heart.
What I am telling you to do is chase after that version of yourself that you know you could be.
What happens when I decide for myself that I'm going to do something different?
You've got the gift of life. You have the privilege of being here. Quit playing small. You were meant to do great things.
Nothing changes if nothing changes, man.
I got one question to ask you. Can you do this thing alone?
I've trained 99% of my life alone. No one pat me on the back. I did all of the work alone.
Wolves don't lose sleep over the opinions of a lesser species.
Be alone. Go to that dark space.
You may not want to fight that battle, but you need to.
A beast is someone who can go through hell and be grateful that their legs are working.
What are you? Are you a sheep or are you a wolf?
When you train alone, I can take myself to such a level of real passion and purpose.
Nobody's gonna feed us. You gotta feed yourself.
The feeling I get is something I can't even explain. I don't need anyone.
It's on you.
You gotta want it as bad as you want to breathe.
Success starts with you. It's all on you.
If you want to be strong, you gotta learn to fight alone.
Yes, you're tired. Yes, your mind is saying give up. Yes, it's saying quit. But you cannot quit because you realize you have not reached the goal yet.
Day in and day out, you got to keep on working. And if you get knocked down, so what? Rise up and get up.
Nobody's going to believe in you until you've already done it. Nobody's going to come and celebrate with you until you've already done it, which means you're going to have to work for a long time by yourself with no applause, with no awards. No one's going to believe in you in the beginning, nor should they. Be okay with it.
If I have to do it alone, I will. Start alone, but get started.
It doesn't matter how hard you work, I'm willing to work harder than you.
And I know every motherfucker ain't gonna do what I'm gonna do. That's how you level up.
Stop being average when your potential is crying to come outside and be more than that.
No one will outwork me. No one.
It's so easy to be great nowadays, my friend, because most people are weak. Most people don't want to go to that extra mile. Most people don't want to find that extra because it sucks.
Of course, talent without work is nothing.
You gotta be hungry. People that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do.
There's no excuse not to be the hardest motherfucking worker in the room.
You have to want it.
I would rather tell the world what I've done than what I'm going to do. There's enough people talking. Just make the move and don't talk until it's time for the checkmate. Move in silence. One of the most underrated superpowers on earth is moving in silence, thinking in silence, caucusing in silence, meditating, praying, working on your craft, doing the dark work, behind the scenes where nobody can see it, nobody can congratulate you, nobody can affirm you, nobody can celebrate you. I'm doing this thing not to be celebrated. I'm doing this thing not to be noticed and acknowledged and supported. I'm doing this thing because if I don't do this, I'm not going to achieve what it is that I'm after. This is the power of moving in silence. If I'm going to move in silence, I've got to know how to plan in silence and think in silence and meditate and pray and put the work in behind the scenes. Nobody can see it but me. Every rising star that you see, every innovator and trailblazer and creator and philanthropist and minister and business person or athlete or entertainer, we see them at this height, but we don't see the work. You were not there when they cried and they bled and they sweat and they almost quit and they almost threw in the towel and they were left alone to continue the work, to pray, to believe, to think, to caucus, to plan it out and then execute and come back and shock everybody! I'm not gonna say a word until I win. I'm not posting about it. I'm not trying to prep you. You don't need a trailer. I'm going to make an announcement that I won. Not that I'm working, but I won. Checkmate. Checkmate. Somebody shout checkmate. Somebody drop it in the comments. Checkmate. Move in silence. Drop it in the comments. Checkmate. 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 You talked about me, you doubted me, you deserted me, you left me for dead. Watch me checkmate. And I'm gonna do it in silence. As a matter of fact, I'm not gonna say a word until I win. There are seasons in life where we get to that need to be played and lived out like a chess game. Don't talk until it's time. A chess player does not talk until the time has come for the checkmate. Man, drop it in the text. Checkmate, checkmate, checkmate. Stop talking about everything you don't do. Checkmate. Successful people have mastered the art of spending time alone. They understand the power and the leverage points when I get time with myself. And I get in my head and I get in my heart and I understand my behaviors and my belief systems and my parameters and what I need to do and how I need to sow and where I need to send my energy and how I need to execute in the day. They understand it's a superpower. But everybody doesn't need to know what you're doing. And this is why we have so many copycats and knockoffs and counterfeits and frauds, because you brought people along with you that were not in your inner circle along throughout your process while you were building it instead of just revealing it after it was already done. because this is the type of season I'm about to step into. You talked about me, you doubted me, you deserted me, you left me for dead. Watch me checkmate, and I'm gonna do it in silence. As a matter of fact, I'm not gonna say a word until I win. Just show up and be finished with it. Stop telling the world every step of the process and you haven't won yet. Win, 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 and after you win, then let them interview you. Let the contracts drop on the table. Let the documentary come out, but win without a word. And when you win, checkmate, checkmate, checkmate. Understand your limitations. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Where are you losing? Where are you winning? How do you need to change your beliefs to align with the correct behaviors? What type of behaviors and parameters and values do you need to have established and hardwired within yourself? Who do I need to become to accomplish what it is I've been destined to do? When you spend that time alone and you can think and you can pray and you can meditate, and everybody's not in your mix, you're able to grow something that could leave a legacy and impact the lives of millions of people. Never underestimate the power of getting alone with yourself and getting dialed in with what you've been called to do, and then how you're going to go about doing it. Oftentimes we find the person who's living paycheck to paycheck doesn't want to think. They just want to work and get paid. It's the millionaires and billionaires and six-figure earners and networkers and busy bees and people that are out there shaking hands, stepping into rooms and arenas, building products, creating opportunity, innovators, trailblazers. These are the people that have spent time alone thinking about what it is they've been called to do and how they're going to execute. They moved in silence. They thought alone. They prayed alone, just for a moment, just for a season. Nothing wrong with getting together with friends and family and having a corporate construct, but there is an unfair advantage when I can get alone with myself and I can talk to myself in the mirror and tell myself, self, you got stuff to do. Self, you have things to become. Self, there are ways you have to go about this, and you need to be flexible, you need to be agile. Is God first in my house or nothing else? And we start to establish our values and we start to understand ourselves and what makes us tick. Everybody doesn't need to know all the moving parts and the pain and the tears and the sacrifices that you have made. Just show up on stage and win, and after you win, then you can talk about how you won. If your dream only requires you, then it's not big enough. It starts with you, but it doesn't end with you. Your team is coming. Drop it in the comments, man. My team is coming, but it starts with me. My team is coming, but it starts with me. My team is coming, but it starts with me.
Today we gotta ghost everyone. Anyone that ever doubted us, anyone that ever lied to us and told us that they believe in our vision, we gotta reset.
We live in a culture of busyness, distraction, and noise. And sometimes the only way something's going to change is if we disappear.
We gotta focus on the reason why we started everything. Why we woke up early in the morning to grind. Why we cried those tears. When we wanted the world to say yes, but everyone continued to say no. You see, you gotta forget about the doubters.
Can you unplug from people's ideas, from people's agendas, from people's viewpoints and perspective of you and life? Can you unplug?
Forget about the doubters that told you that you didn't have what it takes to be the greatest. You gotta reset.
What if you could just shut out every distraction? What if you could just shut out the world for just a season and focus on you? You have to disappear and put the work in and come back and shock everybody that doubted you.
You gotta understand the power of being alone. Let's go back into the darkness where all the greatness was created, where all the motivation was created. Let's get back to the beginning. Because only then will you hear the thoughts of the greats.
We celebrate athletes and we celebrate critical thinkers and innovators and actors, and we praise them and coin them our heroes, and we follow them by the millions. We love what they do in public, but you don't know the story behind the glory. You don't know the blood, the sweat. You didn't see the tears that they cried, the prayers that they prayed, the countless weeks where they went without sleep to get where they are. I'm just wondering if there's anybody here that is willing to go through the process in the dark room that prepares us and equips us for the stages of destiny.
Rise, let's ghost everyone. You gotta get back to that child that wanted to dream, that wanted to chase everything the world told him that he couldn't have. Yes, we gotta reset. We're surrounded by the noise. We're surrounded by the social media, the Instagram, all of these things that give us no fulfillment. And the reason why you feel this way is because you've been surrounded by negativity. You've been surrounded by individuals that call themselves your friend. But in all reality, they're just another energy drainer. They're just another person that wants to tell you that you cannot accomplish your dreams because they failed at every obstacle they ever tried to defeat. Let's go back into that hole. Let's go back into the darkness.
Some of the most monumental and transformational portraits and pictures that we've ever seen were developed in the dark room. I'm talking to that athlete. I'm talking to that administrator. I'm talking to that nurse, that doctor. I'm talking to that student. I'm talking to that communicator. I'm talking to that pioneer, that inventor. I'm talking to that entrepreneur. I'm talking to that preacher. I'm talking to that person who refuses to stay where they are. I'm talking to that person that doesn't have a problem laying in obscurity because you know that when you come out of the dark room, all eyes on you.
Rise from that ghost state, a new man and a new woman on its journey to greatness.
Why are you here? What is your destiny?
I got a question. What will you do when no one is watching? What will you do when no one is listening? That's the only time that we'll be able to bring something to this world that it never seen before.
One of the greatest challenges with disappearing is understanding the revelation of building in the dark. The secret of change is to focus all of our energy, not on fighting the old, but building the new, and specifically behind closed doors when nobody's looking, when no one is there to affirm you, when nobody's there to validate you, when nobody is there to agree with you, you build in the dark and you announce it when it's finished.
Let me tell you, you're gonna fight until you can't fight no more. And when you can't fight anymore, you're gonna lay down and bleed a while. And then you're gonna get up and fight some more.
Sometimes you have to fall back into the dark room and focus on you. There are too many people in your life who have left you. There are too many people in your life who have counted you out. There are too many people in your life who have whispered in your ear and said, you'll be worse off without them. Prove them wrong. There are people in your life that claim to be your friends. And honestly, they are just standing there waiting to see you fail.
Yeah, you have those friends that come out to support you and tell you how great you are. But when they're driving off, leaving from the event, they're saying to themselves, I can do that better than him. Or I can do that better than her.
Disappear and do the work that is required. Sometimes you gotta take a break from just about everything, disappear, come back, and shock the world.
You've been surrounded by individuals that call themselves your friend. They're just another person that wants to tell you that you cannot accomplish your dreams.
Are you worth my time? If you're not, it's time to unplug. Time to unplug. Time to unplug.
This is the process. When you have to reset. And when you have to ghost everyone.
Yeah, nothing changes and nothing changes, man. You know, we'll sit around forever wondering, well, what if I was a dog catcher? Would I be the best? What if I was
Every day we change the world. But to change the world in a way that means anything, that takes more time than most people have. It never happens all at once. It's slow. It's methodical. It's exhausting. We don't all have the stomach for it.
What if it's a mistake? It's a mistake. Rest assured. What do you know? You're going to stumble around, right? And what's going to happen is this. You're going to not stay in stasis. You're not going to wander around in circles. And I see people like that. They said, well, I never knew what to do, and now I'm 40. It's like, that's not so good. That's not so good. And you might say, well, and there is a literature, too, that suggests that people are a lot more unhappy when they look back on their lives about the things they didn't do than they are about the mistakes they made while they were doing things.
That's how they get you to give up. They say it's not that simple, Vinny.
So what's the truth?
That it is.
I want people to understand that they're not alone, that there are other people feeling exactly the way they're feeling, that their behavior is not insane, that they have a disease, and it's not their fault. There's a very famous kind of line that people don't change. I happen to know that people do change, and I see that every day. I see people getting better. I see the lights in their eyes come on.
There's a million excuses I could make to rationalize not getting up early, doing the ice bath, and going for a run. There comes a time when all these potential excuses turn into fuel that motivates you to keep going.
You gotta get out there. You gotta give it everything you got, whether it's your time, your talent, your prayers, or your treasures. Because remember this, you will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse.
If you want to know something about yourself, sit on your bed one night and say, what's one thing I'm doing wrong, that I know I'm doing wrong, that I could fix, that I would fix? You meditate on that, you'll get an answer. And it won't be one you want, but it'll be the necessary one.
It's a whole issue. People have a feeling that they can change, but they have no effort. They don't want to get in the game because they feel it's just too much time and it doesn't work. And I tried it and it didn't work. And then they give up and then life just goes on. It's seamless. You don't see it. It's just the way you've been living.
And my older brother, who was 12, got into an electrical accident and he died in my arms. And really come to terms with that I was the one who got to live. That this life that we live, it's a privilege. And when I really started to take that in, I felt this tremendous urge to do something with my life, to do something that mattered.
At some point, everything's going to go south on you. Everything's going to go south, and you're going to say, this is it. This is how I end. Now, you can either accept that, or you can get to work.
You can't stop. You can't quit. You can't say, I'm a failure. You're not a failure. You're not. You're a wonderful, strong, intelligent youngster. Take advantage of that. Trust in God. Trust in yourself.
Until you say, yeah, I'm gonna take action. Nothing changes if nothing changes, man. And I'm not preaching at you. I'm just, I just want to remind you, because I've spent a lot of time in my life sitting around wanting things to change, and not being able to make them change, and not thinking I could. And I wish somebody had told me that earlier sometimes, that in order for something to change, there needs to be change.
You cannot stand still, because the world moves away from you if you stand still. And there's no stasis, there's only backwards. And so if you're not moving forwards, then you're moving backwards.
How much harder will you work in this offseason now to get back to the championship?
I'll push myself to exhaustion.
Kobe, we thank you for your time.
I feel like we sort of focus on right ways and wrong ways too much. And I think it's, in a sense, sort of scary to just be born and live life. And I understand the idea of kind of grasping onto a particular thought of wanting to kind of feel like you somehow have a handle on the unknown. But you know what? The unknown is the unknown.
Sometimes you got to take a break from just about everything, disappear, come back, and shock the world. I'm talking to that athlete. I'm talking to that administrator. I'm talking to that nurse, that doctor. I'm talking to that student. I'm talking to that communicator. I'm talking to that pioneer, that inventor. I'm talking to that entrepreneur. I'm talking to that preacher. I'm talking to that person who refuses to stay where they are. I'm talking to that person that doesn't have a problem laying in obscurity, because you know that when you come out of the dark room, all eyes on you. We live in a culture of busyness, distraction, and noise. And sometimes the only way something's going to change is if we disappear. Sometimes you gotta delete the app. Sometimes you have to walk away. Sometimes you have to fall back into the dark room and focus on you. Everybody wants destiny. Everybody wants manifestation. Everybody wants fulfillment. Everybody wants the next level and the relationship and a higher quality of living. But nobody wants to eliminate distractions. Nobody wants to disappear for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and get into a place where you can focus on just you. What if you could just shut out every distraction? What if you could just shut out the world for just a season and focus on you? A man is rewarded in public for what he does in private. Can you unplug for just a moment and focus on you? Focus on what matters. Why are you here? What is your destiny? The reason why you don't see it, the reason why it has not manifested, the reason why you are so frustrated is because you have not been willing to forsake all that you've been called to forsake and to follow through behind closed doors. Sure, you can talk about it. Sure, you can plan it. Sure, you can write it down. Sure, you can go to the conference and hear about it. You can read about it. But at some juncture, you have to disappear and put the work in and come back and shock everybody that doubted you. I'm talking to that man, that woman, that boy, that girl who feels the fire in their belly. It's time for you to shock the world. You may have to sleep in your car. You may have to go without food. You may have to bounce around from couch to couch. You may have to sacrifice like nobody in your family ever has. But can you do it behind the scenes when nobody's looking, when nobody's watching, when nobody understands the measure of passion that you carry? Can you keep going? Don't stop! You're right there. Go through the process in the dark room that prepares us and equips us for the stages of destiny.
It's time to get real. It's time to get raw. It's time to look ourselves in the mirror and come to the resolve that this version of ourself is not going to carry us in the stretch. That I've been this version of myself long enough that if I don't change, if I don't do something about this, then I'm gonna find myself bankrupt.
Some of the most monumental and transformational portraits and pictures that we've ever seen were developed in the dark room. We celebrate athletes and we celebrate critical thinkers and innovators and actors, and we praise them and coin them our heroes, and we follow them by the millions. We love what they do in public, but you don't know the story behind the glory. You don't know the blood, the sweat. You didn't see the tears that they cried, the prayers that they prayed, the countless weeks where they went without sleep to get where they are. One of the greatest tragedies in life is to live and not know why you're living. I'm just wondering if there's anybody here that wants their future, that wants to fulfill their destiny, that wants to manifest, that wants to walk in discipline and determination. I'm just wondering, is there anybody here that's willing to disappear? Are you willing to forsake all distractions? Can you hide yourself in the library? Can you hide yourself in the gym? Can you hide yourself in the boardroom and plan and caucus and do what is required behind the scenes in order to manifest the moment? Can you hide yourself in your books? Can you hide yourself in your closet? Can you hide yourself in the prayer rooms? Can you hide yourself? We have this passion to be in the public eye, but no patience to do the work behind the scenes. Stop telling the world what you are about to do. Steve Jobs once said, "We do not say anything about future products. We work on them in secret, and then we release them to the world." We only have so much real estate in our minds and our hearts. We only have so much bandwidth in our mental capacity. And the more distractions, the more delusions, the more negativity that we allow to take up real estate in our hearts and in our minds, the less energy we have to fulfill the call, to fulfill destiny, to manifest the idea. Everything that you think about, that you meditate on, everything that has to your attention has to be worth your time. So now it's time to navigate and do an appraisal of everything that's in our life, everything and everybody in our life. Time to do an appraisal and ask them this question: are you worth my time? If you're not, it's time to unplug. Time to unplug. Time to unplug. I'm just wondering if there's anybody that can hear my voice right now that has come to the end of themselves and they are willing to eliminate distractions. They are willing to delete social media apps if they have to. They are willing to walk away from everything that is distracted, everything that has diluted your devotion and your determination, every disease and dysfunction and disorder that has pulled you from destiny after you have heard it, after you have received it, after you have written it down, after you have spoken it once. Do what is required to manifest it into reality. If you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. Stop telling everybody what you're going to do. Stop telling everybody what your next move is, and just disappear and do the work that is required. Don't be bitter. Don't be frustrated. Listen, just remain faithful behind the scenes. Promotion is coming. Stages and opportunities are being prepared right now as you sacrifice in secret, as you put the work in the dark room, as you do what is required to hold in your hand what you see in your head.
When no one is there to affirm you, when nobody's there to validate you, when nobody is there to agree with you, you build in the dark and you announce it when it's finished.